just, it didn't make sense to me. Especially seeing him move to e4.
Yeah. So I guess
and I should have thought castle.
The major thing is that if he tries to take off all the pieces, it's playable, right? He could do this. He might do this. But this is as good a position as you could hope for with this opening. Your rooks are completely free to play. You control way more of the board than black. And I think if black castles, he might just end up getting slaughtered. I mean, the computer wants to play here and try to trade off. And okay, I could see that as being sensible. But I mean, a lot of human beings might say, okay, I'll castle. But already, look at this. Now look at your attacking potential here. It's really quite serious because once this rook makes it over to the king side, I think you have a real serious attack here. So you want to realize that before you sort of, you have to see that, okay, I have some legitimate attacking chances here. And the other point is that the person can't just trade you off because you're not going to cooperate. And now you're good here. Oh, let's follow this through just so you could see for sure what I'm getting at. Okay, so here we are. And I don't honestly think black has a playable move here. Your attack is going to be just too strong. If they try to stop your rook from coming over, like with this pin, then I think there's just a hilarious tactic. You sacrifice the bishop over here, and then when you throw the check, you bag their queen. They're going to lose their queen. And then you should be well on your way to winning here. So that's just an illustration of the kind of attacking chances you have if they castle. But if they can't castle, they have to find this incredible. I find this a very difficult move to find, this knight c5 move. And the computer just thinks this is roughly equal. It thinks it's equal. Even now, your a3 move is much better than it used to be. And I kind of like bringing your rook into play, but it seems to think the best idea. I would not find this in a game. It thinks the best idea is to play here, and I think because it wants to get your knight up to c4, and then to try to get into d6. And if you play that way, you are going to force them to castle. Because now this is b would check. That'd be a wipeout. And now, look, you actually have pretty good chances for your material. Don't want to say it's better for you, but I think you get the kind of action you should be looking for if you play this Mora Gambit. It's not easy to defend black here.
I guess the lesson here, Dave, is that in a gambit, essentially, you have no choice but to attack. You can't play conservatively when you're getting on material, right?
No, and especially, I mean, you always have to think in a gambit what the nature of your compensation for the material is. And in the Mora, it's development, right? Like you're going to have far more pieces out than black. So that means if you play slightly slowly and let black catch up in development, you're just down material. So for instance, in the much more common Mora, this one where white is only willing to sacrifice one pawn, you could see that black can get out their pieces no problem, and black doesn't have any weak pawns. So it used to be considered that black could just play, well, okay, so this was the old main line. Okay, so this threatens pawn to e5. So typically black would play here. And then, okay, I'm just going to make a position because I want to make a point. All right, so this was the typical. There are millions of Grandmaster games that go like this. And it turns out that white is down a pawn, but the extra pawn is this backward D pawn. But you can kind of see that there's not really anything wrong with black's position, except that it's passive. And it turns out that passivity is enough to give white full equality, but absolutely white is not better. And I'll show you another sort of, not a very ambitious way for white to play, but it'll illustrate a point. If white plays out here and then say dumps off this bishop, look at a position like this. In terms of material, black is ahead 1 pawn. But look at the difference in the quality of the two bishops. White's light squared bishop is outposted. This guy is pretty much going to be a defensive piece for his whole life. So I have a student who likes playing this way, and he rarely loses, and if his opponents don't play well, he sometimes beats them from this position, which should be completely harmless, but it's not so easy to play for black. So that's just another example of, like people would look at, say, this position and think, well, how could this possibly be worth a pawn? But it is, because if you play, like, say, a normal move, this is just too annoying. So you can't really allow that. So anyway, every single moral line I know, it seems like white is just okay. So kind of weird to me, but it's true. Okay, are we ready for game 2?
Dave, I think we should, rather than go to game 2, I think we should go through the games you identified, given that
all right,
we'll run out of time if we hit all the games.
Okay, so I'll skip ahead to game 8, which I thought was by far the best game of the tournament. Let me turn that off. Okay, so this is a game between Big Data and Sour Bomb.
Yeah, just so you know, we have Big Sour Bomb is Gus. He's in the meeting, so you've got black here.
Cool. Okay. I'm not going to say much until there's something that seems remotely interesting. So I think both sides are playing completely reasonable game moves. But just as a, as a light thought, if this bishop ended up going out here and coming out back all the way back, we're not talking about white playing for an advantage here. This is just essentially an equal game. Black hasn't wasted a single solitary move, so at this point in the game, they must be doing pretty well. This makes sense. Black wants to go for more. I like it. And now white, I think, just makes a big mistake. The only move that makes any sense at all to me is this one. And then it just looks really equal. I don't see anything for anybody in this position. It's just whoever makes, mistakes. This move, knight e5, I get why he did it. He was concerned about stopping e5, but I don't think this is quite right, because if you look at this position here, black has nothing to complain about in this position. Like, absolutely nothing. I can't imagine white has any advantage whatsoever here.
Okay, Dave, this actually brings up something that I put in my notes when I was looking at the games this morning, and that's the whole question of pawn breaks. You know, in the position at after 10, rook e8. Here,
You can
yeah.
move too, right?
Yeah, I can move them. Yeah. So in this position here, you know, as player of the white pieces, I'm sure most of us at our level are really hesitant to play a move like c4, not because we calculate it as bad, but because we don't necessarily immediately see the value of like what is it exactly is a pawn break going to
Okay,
do.
I think I know what you're asking me, or at least I think I know what you want me to say. Let me do a useful in general but mistimed move. If you allow this, the difference is going to be that when you play c4, which is the only break or attack you have on the center, it's going to be met with this. That's the difference. And now this is just going to be really, really bad for white. But if you play c4 here and the person plays e5, you have time to take out one of their center pawns. Kind of like in a Sicilian defense, right? With colors reversed. That's essentially what this would be. And then the difference would be you would have this position, but this position should be okay for white because there isn't that massive center pawn roller thing in the middle of the board. Now, let me just make sure I'm not wrong about my explanation. Well, in fact, this wins a piece.
Right.
So the point is c4 is a much more efficient way of stopping e5. Because now, okay, pretend you're black. You don't have any sort of super duper moves. If you can't go e5, you probably have to play something like rook c8. And then, you know, then you're basically looking at, say, I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. I don't have the engine on. But supposing you end up with something like this just looks pretty equal, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So after knight to e5 and then knight e5, knight e5, bishop e5, I think I probably didn't go for this in the game, partially just because I wasn't exactly sure about. I thought his bishop was kind of strong, and like I don't want to move my queen because I don't want him to take on f6 and double the pawns.
Yeah, I get it, but hang on a sec. Okay, well, let's dissect what you're saying. I thought his bishop was kind of strong. Well, yeah, it's a nice looking bishop on a nice square. But how can it hurt you?
I wasn't necessarily worried about it hurting me as much as I felt like I should remove it, and I wasn't exactly sure about a good plan on how to do that.
Well,
but maybe I'm just wrong.
So I've lost some games in general against pretty strong computers where I would have positions like this, say, and what would happen is the computer would allow, like here, let me just make some move. It would, okay, I just want to make a point. Positions like this are better for black. They're not better for white. So that's not something you have to worry about because white, in fact, has 0 attacking chances. And black has a lot of pawns in the middle and a pair of bishops. So back to like a real life kind of example, which I guess would be here. What do you think makes sense for white? C4 or something?
Yeah, you probably c4, I guess.
Okay. So the essential problem is you said something like, what do I do about this bishop? I don't have the engine on. I will turn it on, but not till I think about it first. I'm thinking you play here. And now, don't they have to worry about knight here? Or
Yeah.
possibly d4?
Or I guess if you're saying that I don't even have anything to worry about with an attack on
That's
the
what
king,
I'm
I mean,
saying.
I could just play like queen b6 even. I mean, maybe not that, but
Oh, bishop
I mean,
d6?
I said I could even just play like queen b6 or something.
Oh, I
Like I don't have
see.
to
And
necessarily
then they
worry
would
about the
have to
knight.
start. Yes, that's true.
I mean, just say, are you gonna take it or no?
And a4, a5 is a nice move. Right? Just taking over. I think the point is what you have to do is you have to look at this for yourself from here and just sort of play around with ways the game can go. And the more you look at it, the more you're going to realize, oh, yeah, I'm just too solid. And you are a little better developed, too. I mean, your rooks are better off than white's rooks.
Okay, cool. That sort of answers my question, which was, I think ultimately I just don't need to be worried about bishop takes f6, and so there's really is no pressure.
But what we could do, well, I mean, it's good to do this. Let's just, yeah, so actually I guessed it right. c4, bishop c6, and okay, I'll make another useful move. Yeah, I wondered about this. I think you can basically make a draw by just playing here. Everything is going to come off. And you're not going to be worse. But if you don't want to do that, like if you want to keep more tension in the game, there's probably a way to do it. Yeah, I think you just have to play around with this. I mean, you have to do something because your bishop's not protected. I guess you could just protect it. Oh, well, how about you just put your queen here and flipped your rook to the d file, and then he would have to start worrying about various knight moves. Because, like, you know, your knight doesn't have to stay on f6.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
I think it's just not so easy to improve white's position. I actually had a game very similar to this against a really strong grandmaster once. And I don't know what happened. I was slightly worse. And then I defended really well. And then he actually went too crazy trying to kill me. And I was actually winning. But I was super short of time and he blew me to bits. But okay, so back to the game. You went rook c8, which is okay. It's certainly okay. c4 was right. d4 was fine. So this part of the game was fine. I mean, certainly nothing wrong with any of this. e5 was a very nice move. But that was unnecessary. Like, what were you thinking? Like, what was in this for you?
Well, I'll admit that I was worried about him taking on e5, and like if I felt in the game that there might be some circumstances in which I need a recapture with the pawn, and then I was really having a difficult time judging whether this was going to be a problem for me or not, because I thought he has very strong control over the white squares. And so if I take with the pawn, I feel like the pawn's kind of dead. I mean, he can't really attack it very easily.
Hang on, stop. Why does he have control over the white squares? Like, isn't your bishop better than his bishop?
I just meant in front of the pawn specifically.
Ah, he was going to blockade you.
Yeah, I was worried about the blockade, and then the pawn would become a target.
Let's do this. Pick a square for your queen, because I think you want to get off the d file, probably, right? Seems logical that you would want to get off the d file. Just tell me where you want to put your queen. I don't think it matters so much as long as you get
Yeah,
off.
probably E7, I would guess.
Sure, let's look at that. Okay, but now if he takes, his B is going to be hanging, right? So where do you want to put it?
Bishop D3 was probably what I was thinking.
Okay, I think it should probably go to F3 because I'm thinking you have the better bishop. But let's see if I can prove it somehow. Yeah, there it is. Not an easy move to see, letting that pawn go with check. But you're taking over the game here because if he actually tries this, he's probably going to get rolled. Because now you're
Okay.
winning a piece on the G file or your knight's getting to here.
Yeah, yep.
But this would just be equal. You would just have some kind of game where, I mean, okay, now your rook doesn't make any sense on the C file, support your passer. I don't see how you could be worse here. It's just probably pretty even. You know, it's almost
Yeah.
like has the potential to make a pass pawn on this side, but you already have a pass pawn. And I don't think it's a weak pass pawn. So you would just be doing okay, but not better. Now let's see the game. Yeah, that's not a very good move, that B4 move. He should have seen this because it's like just such an easy move. You activate a rook that's not playing and you bring it across a queen. So that would have been a pretty good improvement. Not enough to radically change the evaluation, but it's just a better move. And now I think you really missed something here. This would have really stressed him. Because you basically you're getting the initiative, right?
E3 is the plan.
E3 is the plan, and it's a winning plan if he doesn't play perfectly. So the perfect defense is, it's actually maybe not that hard to see. He needs to find a good square for the knight, which means he needs to clear C4. But look at the resulting middle game. I think you have nothing to complain about. And then he could just move the rook back. I'd rather be black, but it's probably pretty equal. Reasonable or not reasonable?
Sounds reasonable to me. I don't think I was looking at E4 at all.
Yeah.
It's hard to find pawn moves, eh?
Well, it's hard. It's hard in this position because the guy plays B4 and you're thinking, oh yeah, he's moving up his queenside majority. I need to take steps. But the part that's hard to see is that if you play here and he plays here and you play here, all he's really done is make it so his pawns can't advance anymore. Right? Like once black plays B6, those guys are harmless. Meanwhile, this is going to command some attention. And so here we are. We're in some kind of middle game that is rapidly going to turn into an endgame. If black doesn't play E3, white's way better after flipping his knight to E3. Be the perfect blockader, right? You guys all know that knights are the best blockaders. But there isn't time to go knight F1. And then it's just dead even.
Yeah, I'm guessing that I think I was a little bit definitely trying to preserve the bishop on the long diagonal where I felt, that it was very useful. So that's probably B6, and then E4 is not even conscionable.
Yeah, I don't think B6 is like a bad move or anything. It's just not as direct as E4. I don't think B6 is a bad move. I just think e4 immediately forces white to find c5, and if he doesn't, maybe you have some chances. Now here I think he made an interesting pawn sacrifice, but not a good pawn sacrifice. He should have just once again activated his rook. And then I think it's just more or less equal. You could straighten out your rook, or you could even grab some space. Either way, maybe white's a tiny bit better, but nothing special. But this pawn sack, I think, is just not great. Okay, so clearly this was his idea. And here you missed a really strong move. Take a look at this for a sec. He's gonna have to play f3. So after f3, now you play bishop d5. He has reasonable compensation here, but I looked at this a fair bit. I'd rather be black. I mean, it'd be wrong to say he had nothing for a pawn here. He has an outpost, and he has the possibility of creating a pass pawn over here. But actually, every line I looked at seemed completely fine for you. Slightly better for you, actually. So I don't know if you misevaluated or just didn't notice this queen b7 move. It's very strong.
I flat out missed queen b7.
Okay. That said, what you played, I think, was certainly not a disaster. What you did was okay. You actually played this part of the game really well, I thought. Now, for the third time, he misses this. And this time it's kind of serious, the fact that he missed it. Instead, he played bishop g4, which is just a terrible move, like an absolutely terrible move. Because he took a rook that was basically doing nothing, and he drove it to the best square on the board. And now I think his position is just way horrible. But you missed the killing move, which was this. He's in serious trouble here. Because he doesn't have any of that compensation anymore. And now he has to start worrying about knight to f4.
And like if f3, what is it? What are we doing?
f3? I guess we're playing here. Now you have to worry about knight d3.
That's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I think he's kind of dead here. But I think probably he needs to just say, oops, I messed up, and go full defensive. If he goes full defensive, maybe he'll survive. Because, this knight can come back to e3. It's going to be a good defender. But I think you'd take this, right, if you could have it?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that was your big chance, and except that I think some other weird stuff happened. Okay, so
yeah,
f6.
I definitely wasn't happy playing f6, that's for sure.
No, that move is pretty bad, but you're not worse, right? And he blundered. He immediately, he did a losing move. That move should have cost him the game. That was right, of course. And here you just missed a win. But it's such a weird one. This is just game over. I know that sounds dramatic. This outright wins. It's just an absolutely clear win. So for starters, you're hitting G2, right? What is he going to do about this?
It's hard to say.
Yeah, well, It's hard to say
I
because
guess
there's
at
no
G3.
answer.
G3
Yeah,
probably.
I don't know, but with your bishop on this diagonal, I don't see that ending up well.
Oh, queen b7. Oof. Yeah, I did see
He
rook
can
d4, but I wanted to
he
grab
can
the
guard
pawn while I
this,
could.
but now I think the point is that he's just down material with a worse position. Like literally any sensible move would leave you in a winning position. If you want to know the computer sensible move, it's here, which I think prepares to transfer the queen around here. I think the human move in a game is probably going to be here. And you can kind of see that his position is rapidly falling apart. You're just going to triple. Eventually force him to take this, and then your pawns will just run out of control. So I think probably for you to get the maximum out of this, you want to spend some time studying why that's so deadly. Unfortunately, now it's just dead even. And then he throws the game away again. So what should have happened was check, rook d7. And I know why he didn't do this. He would have thought that this looked just too scary. But what he overlooked was this holds. I can't find anything for black here.
So Dave, how do you
Yeah.
go into a scary line like this? Because, you know, over the board, not too many of us are going to be able to calculate, you know, down, what are we, 6 or 7
You're
moves?
right. So
Oh.
first question, how do you go into a scary line like this from which color? Like, who is this actually scary for? And you could say
Well,
both.
yeah, okay. But as if I was playing the white pieces, I would be scared to do that, you know, to see my king having to march all over the board like that.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay. But of course. But the thing is, right? Like when you get to here, to me, it's not so much that even me in my prime, like a normal IM, I can't see to the end of complications like that. But what I could see is that I'm losing if I play the other way, right? Like I could see that after here, I'm just getting checkmated. So it's
Right.
not so much that you should be worried. It's that you should say this is a process of elimination situation.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because I know that and I'm sure a lot of people at my level and our level tend to opt for the for clarity rather than for confusion. You know, I prefer a clearly lost position to an unclear position, just out of insecurity. But in fact, you're right. You should really be opting the other way. Like, there's no point if you see
No.
a mate, you might as well gamble.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I guess the thing of it is that okay, that was a nice move for sure. You could probably say that, this is coming unbelievably fast. But I don't know, this move threatens checkmate in 1, right? Nothing beats a checkmate in 1 threat. And you've also tied down the queen too. So it might not be that you would have even a remote freaking clue what was going on here. But it looks like a shot.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And
you're right.
And
Absolutely.
it just turns out that there's like no mate. In fact, Black has to find this rook g8 move not to be mated himself.
A point of interest, we did find this after the game, post-mortem.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah.
good for you guys.
That's really good. That's really good. And it just looks to me like anything could happen here. Like I just have no idea. Like, you know. I think intuitively I might rather be Black, but I don't know. I don't know. Would
That
take
was our
too long.
assessment. We thought even, but I thought black should be easier. But who knows? The knight's
Yeah,
covered.
well, yeah, because Black's king is safe, right? Black has a safe king. White, I'm not so sure. But it's hard to play. I mean, it's hard to play for both sides. It's kind of a fascinating game. I thought it was the most interesting game of the tournament. Both sides had some good ideas.
Very cool.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay, how
Yeah.
about the one that got away twice?
Let's take a look.
So I really thought White played the opening superbly in this game. So this is a move order thing. Certainly there can't possibly be anything wrong with bishop e7, but I'm not entirely sure why you wouldn't want to play c6 first. It's not like White's going to take this. I mean, this would be better for Black. Or certainly nothing to be concerned of. So my thing in chess, at least in the opening phase of the game, I call it the principle of flexibility. There's not going to be any universe where this black pawn doesn't want to be on c6, so why not play it immediately? But okay, fine. And that's just a mistake, and a big one too. So I guess Black didn't understand that the proper way to protect his pawn was here. And then you're looking at White has the options, right? You get to some position like this. And then White can either play systems with knight f3 or knight e2, depending on what they like to do. I'll tell you one system I've always disliked playing against. It's a system. Okay, so this is the big starting point for the Queen's Gambit exchange variation. There's this thing called the Karpov variation. I've never liked Black's chances here. Like, so maybe you might want to look into this, anybody who wants to play the Queen's Gambit exchange. This is a really unpleasant thing for Black. Now, this move is just not a good move. So, okay, next part. See, he ended up with the pawn on c6. I guess this is the hard part to understand. Your bishop isn't any worse on c8 than it is on e6. And in fact, it might be better on c8 because it's a target out here. It's a target for knight attacks, and it's also a target for f4, f5 attacks. All right, so the next part goes fairly sensibly. That looks wildly optimistic to me, but it supposedly is still playable. And now White makes a great move. That's such a good move. Like, White must have recognized that if he played slowly, Black would get the bishop pair and slowly take over. So I totally agree with this move. And now Black played a move that should just lose. What needs to happen here is this. And White should be a little better here. Rooks can come to the middle, but Black's king is safe enough. And Black can probably castle queenside in this kind of setup and hope to shove the pawn somehow. That should have happened. This should just lose the game. And this is a beautiful move. D5 is one of the nicest moves that got played in the whole tournament. It's amazing.
You don't have to
Black.
suck up to me, Dave.
What's that?
Said you don't have to suck up to me. It's okay.
No, but it really is. I mean, it's such a gorgeous move. And it should have won. Like, it should have been good enough. And here you I think you must not have understood how strong your position was. Because I think the point is that think of it like this. He's not castled, and he can no longer castle queenside so easily, and he definitely can't castle kingside. And this would probably be what you missed. You may have seen this, and you may have rejected it because of this. But if you just play here, the difference in your bishop e5 move is that the queens are still on the board, which means that I think his position is just horrible. Whereas without queens, it's not so bad. Are you contemplating that?
Yeah, no, it's a bad habit I have of exchanging the queens. I feel safer with the queens off the board. It's if things feel less complicated, but you're right. They should have stayed on.
If a person has a king safety issue, you're gonna want your queen.
Yeah.
And now, now the position, it's still better for you. Of course it's better for you, but it's a lot less better. Because for one, his king can hide on the light squares if it needs to, right? It's not really in any trouble anymore. And then unfortunately you blundered. If you'd have played here, I think you're still better. But maybe not by much. But knight d4 was just a blunder, but he blundered back. I think both you guys missed how good this was. And the point is that he grabs the initiative.
Mm-hmm.
And now he wins the exchange. Now your position was so good that I think you're still okay down the exchange. But you might not have liked this so much. This is about even. Maybe a tad better for black. Definitely not what you were looking for.
No.
But he blunders. Now I think quite a bit better for you. Possibly you should have played h3, but what you did was pretty strong. Now he blunders like severely. Rook AE8 is just equal. I'm wondering if you noticed this at all in the game.
I'm trying to remember. This is played in September, I think.
Okay. The point is that I think he's getting his pawn back.
Yeah.
You can't support this guy properly. Like, I just don't think there's a move here. I mean, there's a lot of moves you can do that'll be equal, but I didn't find a single one that gave you any advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big miss on his part. Now you're much better. Yeah, that was a great move. But unfortunately, you missed the killer move. It was here. Hey, that's interesting. This is like remember the last game we looked at, the person kept missing rook e1 too. You guys have a blind spot for activating your rooks or something. I don't know. I think he's just dead here. Like I don't find a move for him. The major point is that I think this more or less leads to a position where you start winning pawns. Like, look at the difference between your activity, and you have an extra pawn that's useful on this side. Whereas I think he can't really ever do anything. I'll show you. Like it looks kind of like, okay, what's the big deal? But there really is it's actually the thing about this position, which is not immediately obvious, is that you're running him out of moves. Start thinking about this in terms of running him out of moves. What's he gonna do? If he goes in a certain direction, knight c5 will get him. If he goes in another direction, knight f6 will get him. If he just keeps moving up pawn moves, he'll eventually end up in zugzwang. It's actually a very, very cool endgame position, worthy of a bit of study, because what you're going to discover is that black is extremely, extremely stressed here, even though the material is equal. After here, this would just immediately equalize. But he didn't find that. He went backwards.
That's one of the things I see, certainly in my endgame play, and I'm sure you see it in the endgame play of most players at our level. The endgames are essentially a series of blunders in response to blunders, almost, you know.
Oftentimes that's true, but there's certain ideas that can help. And here's a really good one. Don't go backwards unless you absolutely have to, when you could go forward, right? Like even in a speed chess game, why wouldn't you pick this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just an extremely strange thing to me to retreat ever. Like I teach a lot of kids who are much weaker than all of you guys, but they'll be in these king and pawn end games, and their king will be nice and centralized, and they'll start retreating their king, losing every time. And I don't know why. I just don't know. I've never really figured out a more simple way of saying don't retreat unless you feel you absolutely have to. Sometimes you do. In rook end games, occasionally passive defense is the only option. But this is not like that at all. So here, yeah, you missed the kill. The kill is here. Black is 100% lost here.
Yeah.
There's just no move. Because look at what suddenly happened. The world's best knight versus a guy stuck on the back, and you've got control of the 7th rank and this tactical thing sometimes. So I don't even, like, you want to play around with this to recognize, because just looking at it really quickly, you're probably going to feel, well, yeah, this is better for white. But it's not just better for white, it's winning for white.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
then,
definitely worth a closer look.
Definitely. Okay, so this happened, and now he could have made a legitimate draw with rook e2. I don't think you can win here. Black's just too active. Because now you essentially have a problem. It's a technical problem. The technical problem is there's a pretty good chance that all of these 4 pawns are going to disappear, and he can totally hold 3 against 2 if it's on the same time.
Yeah.
same side. One rook or two rooks. But then
Yeah,
there
for
was
sure.
just a sorry?
Yeah, in fact, I expected rook e2. I was resigning myself to a draw at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. But he gave you another chance.
Yeah, which I assessed correctly as a chance, but then I followed it up wrong. The rook doesn't belong on d1.
Well, no, I think you're here. I think he's in deep trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, because here you're going to have a healthy 2 against 1 or a healthy 3 against 2, and he has more weak pawns than you. Now, I don't know if this is going to lead to a win, but I do know it's extremely difficult for black. So this was unfortunate, because now I think it's just dead even, kind of. Yeah, so here I think, here honestly, I don't know what you were thinking, but what you should have been thinking is, how do I make this a draw as quick as possible? Because now
Yeah.
he's got the jump on you and your king is in worse shape than his.
Yeah.
So if you were thinking you still wanted to try to win, this was a very dangerous thought.
Yeah, it was insane.
You know, combined with a rook on the 7th, that was good.
I felt it was my only hope at this point.
Yeah, and it's good enough. I was a little surprised he didn't just go with his asset, right? Like, if he leads with his asset, I don't think there's any problem. I don't get this move because this is essentially a pawn race. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, you played this part right. And now I think that's just a horrific blunder. But I'm thinking maybe by now you guys were starting to get low on time. Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, well, yeah, we were down to a couple minutes each, I guess.
Yeah, so I don't want to be too harsh. He should come back, and I don't think he should lose here.
No.
He could certainly lose here. Okay, so that was good. See, essentially what's going on now is that any scenario where, say, this pawn cost him his rook and this pawn costs you yours, you're going to win, right?
Yep.
So the question is going to be, can you activate your king? That's the big question. So let's just point out a couple of things. He can't put his king on either the B file or the C file, because you just go check and make a queen, right?
Yep.
So basically, all you have to do is figure out, hey, how do I activate my king? Now, of course, you would like to play. Well, actually, I was thinking if you just play here, I think you're just coming out, right?
And not g3 in order to not allow him to freeze the pawns with g4, correct?
Well, I think that would make it harder.
Yeah.
It might still work, though. But I think if you go h3, for sure it works. And I think this works too. Looks like how are you not going to be able to activate your king here?
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is just completely winning. I don't have a clue what he could even consider trying here. If he tries to, like, look at how awkward this is. I don't know, say here. Nope, too easy. So you have to do it this way, maybe? It's still pretty hard to, yeah, nobody's gonna find these moves with their flag hanging. They're too subtle.
Yeah.
But this is winning for you because like when you finally get around to like playing h4, I don't think he has an answer. You're gonna essentially make a second pass pawn, right? And once you make a second pass pawn, I think you probably win. So let's see,
Okay.
am I wrong about this or am I right about this? So you could try to come out this way. That seems pretty good, right? Does this work? Not so much. See, I found a way to wreck it. Yeah, that's a really instructive blunder. Because now the difference is this is actually a check. And now, in fact, he has enough time to make a draw. That's hilarious. That's actually really hilarious. But you can avoid that totally by simply curling around.
Right. Okay, listen, I'm going to do take another look at this. But in the meantime, maybe we should move on to another game since we're already past 3 o'clock.
Agreed. Oh, geez, sorry. Okay, where am I?
No problem. This
Most
is all.
tragic? How about most tragic? There's not a lot to this game, just the end of it.
Okay. And then I'd like to look at that amazing draw in game 16.
Oh, yes, that's fantastical. Absolutely. I'm just going to get to the tragedy part. White has a beautiful game here. All the attacking chances, control of the center. And, you know, to White's credit, that's pretty impressive given that he was 300 points lower rated. Everything White did here was good.
Wait a minute. No. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Sorry.
And then White found basically a forced mate. And then White even found a queen sacrifice. And now White needed to find was this. And it's just queen to g7 checkmate. So the thing to try to remember is that whenever it's double check, the reason double checks are so strong is because it means you can't block and you can't capture, because you can't capture two pieces one move usually. So I found this tragic. And then after here, Black defends successfully. Even here, White had one last chance. Well, maybe here there were repeated ways to not lose with knight to h7 check, but they're hard to find. Anyway, the tragedy was White went on to lose this game. So that's game 10. Okay, let's do the most interesting draw. That's game 16. This was really something, like something incredible, actually. Okay. So what do we have? Some kind of, okay, so it's an accelerated dragon. I was once playing in the Ontario Open against a guy named David Jackson, who was about 2100. And I felt like not playing theoretically. I was White, and I played here. I was able to beat him with this. So I don't think there could be anything wrong with this. I'm not saying it's any better or any worse, but it is a move. C3 kind of makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, it seems to me that anytime there's a bishop pointing on f7, it always seems to me that a way better idea is this. And then they have to, like, consider d5. I don't love this. I'm sure the d6 move is completely playable, but I don't love it. You know,
people play it out of habit from the dragon.
Yeah, the dragon and the Najdorf too. And I think, you know, if you just throw away engines and computers and all of that, and you just look at this position, it just looks better for white. Like it looks like white has gotten away with something. This bishop is going to be hitting a brick wall. White has more pawns in the center and a slight lead in development. That doesn't mean black isn't playable, but I think from a theory point of view, I don't think this could be right.
Interestingly, I did choose this line because I saw that he never plays the e6 in these variations. So I just thought I should be pretty comfortable.
Very solid idea. Yeah, good reasoning. You know, I was down in Cuba at the Capablanca Memorial, and I had to play a Cuban IM, and I noticed that he played one G6 every single game. So I played one B3, and I slaughtered him. He didn't know what to do. That was pretty interesting, that move. I thought that was really a very interesting move. But this doesn't seem necessary. I thought for sure you'd just castle and then play knight d5. Because it's not like you can do this, you know. This would get him into, like, he just drop a knight.
Yeah, and I missed queen c2 in this variation because I really desperately wanted to castle.
It's not huge because he can play this way. But I mean, okay, I think you would take this, right? I mean, clearly you're still a little bit, you've got what you were looking for, I think, if the game goes like this. Okay, so a3 was definitely not right. And then he found a nice sequence here. Yeah, well, he started playing very good moves. That was pretty good. I mean, I don't know that, like, given that his two knights are locking on d5, I'm not entirely sure why he wanted to stop e5. I would have rather just tried to play rook c8 or queen b6, and I think black's doing great. This seems like not a great move, but that's a blunder. So I think you had to try anything but that. I know you were trying to get castled, right? With knight e2?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I'm just completely squirming in this position.
Yeah, but you had a clear way of, like, making sure nothing too horrible would happen. Maybe you didn't realize that it was time to be thinking like that. But I mean, if you play it this way, how bad could it be?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think you're in any trouble here. And
I don't know why that did not occur to me.
If he messes up, you even have a few things to hope for eventually, but probably not. It's probably just going to be some position like this, and looks pretty even. I could see why you wouldn't want to do this, though. It does look a little bit scary with your rook buried. But I don't see, when I looked at this, I couldn't see any way for him to do much. I think after here, it might just be curtains. Yeah, this is losing. Okay, so I'm gonna just fast forward to the resource. Okay, so here he missed queen h4, and it would have been like he wins a piece, game over.
I thought queen e7 too was just good.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I think queen e7. I thought queen e7 would just seal it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's so that's good, but it's not as good. Okay, I'm gonna just get to the position that's really interesting. Okay, so here we have a position where black is definitely doing well, but not winning. Actually, what the heck? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, white already escaped. White completely escaped. This just looks completely equal now. And that's a big mistake. And this was a great move. Yeah, I remember now. So queen e3 was just going to be a draw. Right? How did that go? So that was bad. How did this one go? Queen e3 is check.
Yeah, king h1.
Well, king h1 allows rook c1.
Rook c1. See, what was the point? And then rook. I thought there was something like rook f1. Rook 1 f1, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean that's just equal, right? You're not down anything.
Oh yeah.
Well, basically, this is just
What's a draw, right?
Like this is just an equal position. But unfortunately for black, they played this, which is not losing. This is not losing, but the degree of difficulty is way, 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 way higher than queen takes pawn. Okay, this is where the black played a losing move. So rook e7 actually holds. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. It doesn't hold, but it doesn't lose, because what happens is, okay, check. I get why nobody would do this if they were short of time, but the point is the black queen is guarding f6, which means that when you get to here, it's better for white because of positional reasons. White's just got a better position than the queen on the 7th and the rook open. But in fact, there's no way to do anything dramatic. So it's better for white, but not a forced win. After here, it's a forced win. Okay. And now black's king is just too exposed. Okay, but something incredible happens. And now here, there was a forced checkmate. Queen b8 is literally a forced mate. But it's long and it's hard. But this mates. But watch this. This is what's fantastic. And now white plays a move that actually throws away the win. That move throws away the win. It's unbelievable. Watch this. That's the losing move. Nobody would see this unless you did that thing we talked about earlier in the game of process of elimination. This draws. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, and I think we both missed queen c4 in this position after pawn g5. We both saw pawn g5 and then getting mated.
Aha. So incredibly,
but we missed queen c4.
But I mean, but look at how nuts this is. I mean, you're still, well, okay. I mean, I guess it's just a bunch of checks. Maybe it's not so exciting. Would be exciting if black wants to play for a win. But it's just a perp. But I thought this, just this position on the board is just an insane looking position. Like you would think, how could the queen and the rook not checkmate this king? How could that be?
Yep.
But it's true. There's no mate there. Okay, so that takes care of that. Okay, I somehow
wait, Dave, just hold it a second. Just for the benefit of those of us who don't calculate as fast as you or Gus. So if white plays g5, for instance,
Queen takes rook.
Oh, the rook is hanging here, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so both Dominic and I had missed queen takes rook, and if not for queen takes rook, then black is getting mated. But
Okay. Okay.
Right. What's that old saying? If my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a train. So, black is definitely not getting mated. But I still find this fairly incredible that there's just nowhere to go. No, it's just check, 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 check. So kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have game 15. Wait, did I do? No, I didn't do that one. So I somehow thought this game was both tragic and interesting. So maybe I'll go a bit slower because at the moment I don't remember why I thought it was interesting. Okay, so this should be just a normal kind of game. I didn't love this pin. I never love these pins and these things because it's counterintuitive to think, it doesn't make sense to put all your pawns on one color and then surrender your bishop that's going to guard the black squares. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Oh yeah, white missed a really strong move here. This would have been quite good, I think, for white. This would prove, so this would be proving my point. A position like this, even if black were to win this c-pawn and trade queens, it still probably wouldn't be much, except that this bishop's trapped, so I guess it would. But I mean, okay, here's an example. What really happened here, other than black gave up a bishop and now he's weak on the black squares? This is like not a good position. Okay, so but instead white castled, which is interesting. That's an interesting move, but the problem with this move is that this is a very clear line of play. And this position is just, even though black is ahead of pawn, white has enough positional advantages that it's just equal. Right, so we would have a middle game like this where you don't need to see a million moves ahead. All you need to see is that it's an opposite color bishop position and black is ahead of pawn, but every single positional advantage favors white. More board space, more active rooks, and so that fully compensates for the pawn. But instead, black blundered. And this is just an outright blunder. And this I thought was just unbelievably fascinating. So white has a way to win here, and it's just cracked. Look at this. So the move white played was pretty logical, but this actually wins. So now the problems are tremendous. And don't worry, I'm not going to go fast here because I have a lot of trouble with this too. So, is there anybody amongst us who wouldn't take this rook?
no, you got to take that thing.
Okay. And now you're thinking, yeah, I got some counterplay. I got a pair of Bs. I'm attacking B7. Black is behind in development. Well, it turns out it's really hard to defend this position. What do? The person is going to go queen to B7. If you pick off these two pawns, now you're looking at a scenario where this C pawn is just combined with a pair of bishops is just tremendous. The best I could find for black was something like this. And now I think you could either stop white from castling with bishop d6, or you could take on c4. But white is in absolutely no danger of losing, even though they're down a rook for a minor piece. I mean, black is the one I think that has to play incredibly accurately. Like, even if you do it this way, which is pretty incredible in itself. Like, if you get a position like this, it's not white that's trying to equalize, it's black. Because essentially, okay, that guy is a goner and you can't castle. So how do you get this rook out? Like, how do you do anything? And in the meantime, this would be, say, white's idea. Bishop captures pawn, bishop to a6. And immediately it's critical. It's absolutely amazing. Like, just totally worth fun analyzing. And even the way the game went. So the guy got a slightly worse version of it. That was a great move. And here I'm thinking, if white plays here, I don't see black surviving this position. Because you just can't get your guys out. Like, okay, this looks pretty normal, I think. But look at how fast the game is opening up. And this guy is pretty ridiculous too, over on a3. So back in the game, unfortunately, white tried to do this a different way. This wasn't terrible, but it wasn't right either. And this I'm shocked. I mean, but this really shows imagination. Like, some pretty good stuff here going on here. But here he missed the key move. There's better moves here than, like, bishop here or queen here are both huge improvements. This, I think, is losing.
How is queen b3? What is queen b3 doing? Apart, I guess.
Yeah, I was just
Winning
about to ask that too.
More or less winning a bishop. You have to play b4, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this now is essentially a dead piece. Like, completely dead. All right, so now you play here, say.
And then we just transfer back over to the king side.
Yeah, I think
With the
you
queen?
just play and you have a pair of bishops. You're down a rook, but I think it's not so simple. Maybe there's a better way of doing this. But I mean, yeah, white got carried away, right? White should have just played here. But look at how much worse this is than those positions we were originally looking at with rook b1. You know, here, it's still absolutely massive compensation for an exchange. By virtue of command of the board and this bishop. Like, if you asked yourself, okay, what is in this for black? Okay, black has an extra pawn on the queen side, but it seems pretty ridiculous to think black is going to make a queen. So what does black have? They have a rook for a bishop, I guess. But that doesn't have a lot to do with the king side. I mean, here, okay, maybe you want to stop g5, say king here, rook here. So say you play here. Okay, let's get our bishop to the traditional square. Okay, let me stop here. Just ask yourself, if you were playing black, whether you would be feeling comfortable here or nervous. And the answer should be nervous, right? because you have no play whatsoever. I mean, anything could still happen, but I kind of dislike Black's position. Whereas the way the game went, Black sort of oversacked. Okay, I'm down to my last thing, and then you guys can ask me whatever you want. Game 18, I thought, was a really interesting game. Though I don't remember why, but hopefully it'll come back to me. Oh yeah, it was a Schliemann. The Schliemann is such a cool opening. So this is the line I play as white too, or I have all my students playing. Oh yeah, so I guess a word about this. A lot of my students have a tendency to play knight c3 here, which is by no means a bad move, but that pawn is not really under attack, so castles is definitely more accurate. One of my less than genius students played here once. That was an especially good game, and he resigned. Yeah, so this position is kind of fascinating. I mean, basically, if Black could castle, he might even be able to claim he was better. Play on the F file and a more active dark squared bishop. But he can't castle. So it's very interesting. I spent a lot of time analyzing this position because I wasn't happy with knight c3. It just seems too slow to me. Not that I like the way Black played it. I think if Black now plays this, you're going to have some kind of position like this. Maybe this guy is thinking about. But you have knight d4, and I couldn't find anything.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, my understanding this is the main line, I believe.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I play this from the Black side. I think this is the main line.
Okay, well, it seems pretty okay, right? It seems
Yeah,
okay
I've had
for
it as
Black.
It's comfortable.
Now I found something else that I was pretty interested in. Like I think it's on White to find a way to disrupt what Black's doing, because Black has done some good stuff here. Certainly they have a solid center. They sort of have a slight lead in development. And if Black could castle, I think it's just better for Black. So here's what I came up with. This is untakeable. So you have to play that first. Okay, so now this is the point. You're gonna be forcing bishop to b6. Otherwise, queen c6 is winning. Or just good, I guess. And so you see how by making these moves, you're not really giving Black time to do anything special. So the best I could find for Black was this. And here's where it gets a little weird. It would just be good for White, but Black has a shot. And I'm going to stop and let you guys look at this for a sec. Because you could see that what essentially happened here is White's queen went very far away to win this material. This is completely not takeable. So I thought the best move was here. And that's as far as I got. I don't know what's going on here, but it's an opposite color B position. So that part would sort of suggest, normally with opposite color bishop middle games, whoever gets the initiative is usually doing really well because the other bishop can't help to defend so well. So this position is a mess. The computer seems to think it has to be here. And I mean, this move makes sense. The rook has got enough squares and stuff. And I don't think you want to just allow queen c6. So I don't know what to make of this position, except that, this is all independent analysis. So the odds of somebody actually playing this against you probably aren't huge. But to me, it looks like a position, right? I mean, there's lots going on here. Anything could happen. So if the Schliemann players out there want to figure this out, might be worth their time. I don't think white is risky.
I think a lot of us would be nervous with that rook on c3. I would be feeling that only a matter of time before it's trapped.
Right. But why is that? It has c2.
You're right, and there's no white square bishop.
Right. So one of the things that really helps people, say under 2000, to move up is they have this tendency to fear stuff that isn't real. And so what you got to do is next time you find yourself playing, and you have to listen to your brain when it goes, this feels very uncomfortable, and I don't know about this, is try to override that and think, well, is this real or is this like not real? Am I just being paranoid? Because I think if you think about it, a little bit deeper, you're going to realize that rook isn't in trouble at all.
Mm-hmm.
For one, it's actually the knight that's maybe got to stay there. Otherwise, if they time it right, you might have a bishop c4 problem. I mean, okay, here you don't, but it could happen. But it's curious to me that one of the computer's top moves is actually to knock that rook out. It seems to think in reality this is what needs to happen. And now if you start to look at it, doesn't look to me like that rook has any troubles at all.
Yeah.
This is funny what it wants to do. I mean, this is real computer stuff, but the Schliemann kind of is. Down to one square, but one's enough, as it turns out. Oh, wait, you're picking off some pawns. It seems to think white might be a little better here. Not the easiest line to find with white, I don't think. And I don't think this is winning or anything. So I don't know. And I didn't have access to a good computer, so I don't know. So maybe just make sure so you're not surprised if somebody plays b4. Because I think this is a pretty common Schliemann position. And there's no choice either. That's the thing. I mean, there's really just no choices at all with this. All of this stuff is just completely forced. The only thing that might not be forced is pawn takes bishop. But I guess I would assume that if they don't go pawn takes bishop, there's a good chance rook f3 is coming anyway, right? Because like if you do anything slow, it's going to be rook f3, gf, and then queen h4, and it's just a draw at least. Maybe this is playable. Of course, now your queen's getting out on these kind of squares. I think it might be the same kind of thing. Yeah, you can't really, this never really works out. This is, okay, take a look at this one. This is pretty funny. And now suddenly, because this queen is so far and these pieces are so inactive, you're basically looking at enough action against white's king. Sleeman is a lot of fun. I mean, I really encourage my students to play it. I had this one student, he was rated about 1800, and for the longest time, he would play these Spanishes, and he would try all these different systems, and he'd lose every time. And then eventually we hit on the Schliemann, and suddenly he started beating 1900s very regularly, because there are just so many ways for white to mess up in this opening. I find it really, really interesting and well worth the risk. So anybody who likes, and D3 is definitely one of the better tries. So kind of cool. Okay, so I'm kind of out of prepared stuff. Does anybody have any questions or positions they want to show me?
This is your chance, guys. Otherwise, I'm going to take it all.
I don't think I have anything in particular, at least at this time.
Yeah, but we've looked at actually several of your games too, so that you've had a decent chance there. Richard, is there anything you wanted to look at?
No. I'm just trying to soak in everything that he's talking about.
All right.
It should take a while.
Should take what?
It should take a while. It'll keep you busy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, for you, Richard, I'm going to ask Dave to look at a position from our game.
Okay, that's good.
And I'll put it up on the board here. This is me against Richard. Richard had the white pieces, as I recall.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, sorry, Hamza had a question. Hamza.
Yeah. Go ahead, Hamza. Not hearing any questions.
Yeah, he has to unmute his mic.
Ah.
Otherwise, we won't hear him. Okay, so he's just he's asking a question in the chat. I guess maybe he doesn't have access to.
So what do I do?
Well, I have to
I
actually.
have the thing ticked off. Like my chat room is green.
Yeah, no, for some reason my mouse won't get down to the chat button. Come on.
Here, I can
turning-
read it. I can read it.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Richard. Read the question for us.
Could you explain again what it is you dislike about the old D6 mainline against the Smith-Morra?
I don't dislike anything. I just think from a point of view, a practical point of view, it's a lot easier there are fewer variations to learn. If you play it like this, first off, all the old books say this is a garbage move, and it's not a garbage move. So it has that going for it. People might get excited when you play this and overplay the position. What I like about this, it's not that I dislike the old mainline. I just don't think it offers I think you have to work harder. So for instance, okay, so maybe I need to talk about the old mainline. There's not a lot of ways of dealing with this. I think, you probably need to play here. As far as I know, white has more or less well worked out ways of not losing. And black still needs to be fairly careful. So it's not that I dislike this kind of stuff. I think it's okay. But look at how much more fluid the position is if it's looking like this instead. Hey, what happened there? What am I looking at?
We went back
Oh,
into.
that's your other thing.
Yeah.
So I think, okay, without getting into it too much, it's just that I think you have to know a lot more, and you don't. If white knew like 3 or 4 games, you would just never have a chance to win. Whereas if you play G6, I think you have much more of a chance to win because the middle games are just as complicated and you have easier piece play. So I guess that's the answer. I don't think there's anything wrong with it per se.
Thanks, Dave.
Sure.
All right. So, okay, we'll do this quick in our game. This is a pretty. See, I wanted to stop.
Okay, so this looks like it's gonna be either a King's Indian attack or a Philidor's, and with colors reversed. Okay, so this is a Philidor's opening with colors reversed.
Right. So basically, I'm playing the black pieces here.
Okay, so that doesn't seem to be part of any pattern I've ever seen. I think that's just a mistake. The queen in the Philidor's defense usually goes here.
Okay, right.
And even you should maybe go rook e1 and bishop f1 first. But okay. Or knight f1. So okay.
Right.
Go ahead, David. Queen b3 is just inaccurate.
Yeah. Okay, so black's basically no, we've seen this too.
Okay.
The black
I made
faces the
notes.
right back,
Okay.
and you made a comment there. Okay, so here I'm playing the black pieces, and this is the point where things always fall apart for me, because
But you did good. You played this okay.
for sure, I'm usually happy for the first 10 moves of the game. But what happens is that the early middle game is always problematic. And again, I'm convinced that it's not just for me. It's for a lot of people at my level who understand the basic principles of openings, get your pieces on reasonable squares, get a reasonable share of the center. But then the question is, where do we go from here? And more, not necessarily in this specific position, but the question for you is, what's the general process of deciding on
Middle game plans?
middle game plans?
Okay.
And you have 5 minutes.
Okay. 2 easy words. Pawn structure. I look at this pawn structure and I know that I have a choice of 3 plans for black. I can play for f5, I can play for d5, or I can play for b5. And the hard part is going to be figuring out which one of these plans is going to give me the best winning chances. But it's actually the pawn structure that will tell me the plans. Now, maybe the question is, well, how did you learn what plans go with what pawn structures? And maybe therein lies the problem. I had to look at hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of Grandmaster games to see, well, where do they put their stuff?
Right. Okay, no, that's a useful shorthand anyway, is or it's a starting point, focus on the pawn structure and ask yourself those questions. What are the obvious breaks?
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, okay, like even just a little bit. Okay, so take a look at this position. You have better control of the middle, and you have more space. So that means that every single sensible move you make is going to be comfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think all you got to do is just make the most comfortable looking move as fast as you can. You're not going to be like, if a move is, let's say, 0.2, 0.3, even 0.35, 0.4, these are the variations of how the move is going to affect the game. A, you don't have time to try to figure out which one is the most accurate. And B, you're probably not capable of figuring it out. I know I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell the difference between the 0.1s and the 0.2s. So really all I need to figure out is okay, which one looks best. Now the move you played, it makes total sense unless you see A4. And then suddenly you think, oh yeah, maybe that's not the best way to do this. But even so, it doesn't mean you have any issues, right? It just means it's going to be equal.
Yeah.
By the way, a little story. A long time ago, there was a grandmaster. Well, there was a kid in Montreal named Pascal Charbonneau, and I happened to be the guy that lost the game that gave him his first grandmaster norm, and it was in this very position. This
Oh, wow.
position here. Yeah, I was white. I thought, well, I'll play a Philidor's defense in reverse. He's young. He might not know what to do. And boy, was I wrong. Anyway, I think the game went something like this. And what happened was, it's always the same sort of question. We got to some position like this, and the question is, what do you want to do with this bishop? And I liked fianchettoing it. And he played A5, and I didn't know what to do, and he just completely outplayed me. And I actually, at some point, I had a drawish position, but I was short of time, and I missed it. But yeah, I think we got to some middle game like this, and I think he played D5 too. And he slowly but surely outplayed me. It was a great game. It was from the Montreal International, the year Alexei Barsov won it.
Well,
Okay, any other questions?
well, a little bit farther in the game, a sort of a related question.
Yeah, go to it.
Let's see here.
Do you remember what move it was?
Yeah, I can tell you right now. We go on. And I'm all through here. I'm pretty pleased with the position so far. And here I said, okay, I'm better. Like
Much
black,
better.
it doesn't take a grandmaster to know that black is better.
Right.
My pieces are lining up on the white king side. I've got a lot more space. Everything's good. And the white queen is offside.
Yeah, I remember G5 is the best move in this position.
That's right. But you also suggested, and I like this too, you suggested, wait a minute, I'm looking at the wrong board here. Come on. This is not it. No, I can't do it here. There. Yeah, you suggested this.
Yeah, because I think G5 would be difficult for most people to play, but it is fun.
Or defined. So white's queen has to go even farther, buried even deeper. And the black bishop comes to C3, which is a very cute little rearrangement of the pieces, right?
Yeah. Well, the guy is pointing at the white king.
Well, exactly. And it's a dumb question. It's how do you find things like this? Because in the end, I find it so hard to sort of that's a little tiny mini plan that you should be able to find, but it requires backing up a piece. Anyway, it's not really a question so much as an expression of my frustration that this is such a clear and simple plan, but that I'm not able to find those things.
Well, I think here the point is kind of that you've already got all your pieces out, right? And there isn't anything more for you to do that's going to stress white, which means that you either have to maneuver or change the pawn structure.
Yeah, and maneuvering is I guess what's called for here, and that's not something I know really how to do. Yeah, I know how to develop my pieces, but then beyond that, you're stuck.
Yeah. Well, one thing you should have at least thought about a little bit was that white's queen is particularly useless. So trading it off couldn't have been right.
Oh, I knew it wasn't right at the time. I just didn't know what else to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then try this. When people learn chess, they have people bombard them with sayings that are actually very detrimental to their development. Just preface every single saying you've ever heard, or not preface it, end it with, unless you have a good reason. So the one I'm thinking about in this position has to do with never move pawns around your king because you'll weaken your king. But
Mm.
that's a horrible saying, right? Because if you think about it, you've essentially got 4 minor pieces and 3 pawns around your king, and white doesn't have a single piece around their king. So that means that if you find this move, you realize, wow, this move really stresses white. Like, they can't just ignore this. But if they play h3, then actually it's even worse because this wins.
Mm.
Because they've weakened g3. The problem
Right.
would be noticing that they can't play h3, right? That would be the problem. You might see up to here and you still might not realize that this position is a winning attack. It's actually
Mhm.
kind of beautiful. Because when we get to here, there is simply no move. That's checkmate, right? That means they can't use any of these squares for the b, which means it's just literally checkmate, like, coming. How would it end? Here, I'll make some random move. And black breaks through. So I think it's not necessarily possible to calculate any of that stuff. But the thing that helps the most is that when you think of the expression board control, well, black is controlling practically the whole board here. So it isn't really that surprising that if you can point your guys at white's king is just going to die.
Yeah. All right. That's
So I
that's
guess
useful.
that's planning. I think it's just planning. You have to learn, like, probably the thing here is you're probably looking for moves first instead of plans first.
Absolutely.
And then finding moves that fit the plan, if that's of any use.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, we kind of 4 o'clock, so I think we should probably wrap it up here. But
okay.
on behalf of everybody in the club, including those that will watch this in recorded form, thank you so much, Dave. We really appreciate it, and it's been
my
fun.
pleasure.
Yeah, it's always nice to reconnect
Thanks.
with you.
Absolutely, and I'll definitely keep you advised of any travel plans in your neighborhood.
Yeah, do that. All right, and
All right,
thanks to you,
take
Richard.
care, guys.
Yep.
What's that?
I was just thanking the rest of the guys who showed up.
Oh yeah, thank you guys for showing up. Appreciate it. Okay, take care, Dave.
All right.
All right.
Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Bye-bye.
What is wrong? That's why when I'm in full screen.